Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to go over steps and how I literally went from this picture here to this picture here. The only source of cardio I was doing to get from this to this was steps. I'm going to go over that with you just now. So walk your way to 10% body fat. Why should we choose walking? We're going to go over why walking is the best source of cardio, how to fit walking into your routine, what to do if we miss a day, and some tips and tricks to get those steps in. So the first one, why should we choose walking? Now, again, with walking, there is minimal risk of injury. There's so many people out there who go running and try to reintroduce running and different types of cardio. We literally can't get injured walking. I have had one client who was unfortunate enough to get injured walking because their foot went down a drain. But I mean, have you ever heard of anyone whose foot went down a drain? No, it was very unfortunate, but I have heard of a lot of people who have been injured from running, cycling, other forms of cardio. Walking is the best thing to focus on, and the risk of injury is pretty much zero, so we can do it for a long extended period of time. It doesn't impact resistance training. Obviously, going through a weight loss phase, we want to continue with resistance training. If you're going for runs and doing sprints the way I used to go for sprints 3 or 4 times over the course of the week. I used to do lots of running to try and get lean. I lost a lot of muscle tissue as well. We're sending kind of mixed signals to the body at that point. Muscle has a high oxygen demand, a high water demand, it's heavy. So if we're starting to reintroduce running to our program, the first thing our body's going to do is think, well, let's just get rid of all this muscle tissue. How many times have you tried to go through a weight loss phase and ended up in this sort of skinny fat state at the end of it? Yes, we've lost weight, but we still don't look the way we want to. So focus on walking, focus on the resistance training side of things to give that muscle tissue a reason to hang about. And if not, actually develop and grow muscle tissue as we go through the weight loss phase. The one thing we don't want to do is do big runs or anything that's overly ambitious, let's just say, and then try and go in for a really heavy leg session. The leg session should be the priority, and we can still have a really good leg session if we've been for a walk that day. Like, it's not overly taxing. Fat is the main source of fuel used. So remember, we're in that aerobic state when we are walking. Fat is the main source of fuel that is used to basically power you step by step, which is what we want. We can do it throughout the day. It doesn't take that much effort. So for yourself, depending on where you work, you could literally get steps in throughout the day. If you're lucky enough to be community police, you can literally go out and get paid to go out and get your steps in and walk about from diary call to whatever other incident it is you deal with. If you work in a hospital, you'll probably get a lot of steps in throughout your shift. If you're office based, drink more water, and you will need to get up and go to the toilet slightly more. Literally make excuses to go for walks during the day. Set yourself small time frames in terms of like a small step target by such and such a time. So like 2,000 steps by 9 o'clock in the morning. You could do 3,000 steps by 11 o'clock in the morning. Try and get 5,000 steps done by lunchtime. That way, when you get home from work, you don't have a huge amount of steps left to do. There's nothing more soul destroying than getting home from a really difficult early shift and having like 6,000 steps left to do, especially when it's pissing down with rain. Fit walking into your routine. The more we can just sort of slide this in and plan it into a routine without changing a huge amount, the more likely we are to actually get it done. So plan your week out in advance. So literally every single week, we do this before a shift, we do a briefing. So you'll sit in the briefing room, you'll have your briefing with your supervisor, say, right, these are the priorities for this shift. These are the people we want you to go after. No one actually does that in their own life. So on your rest days before the next run of shifts, plan your week out. Even if you just do it on a Sunday, if you're early shift, night shift, back shift, whatever it is, plan your week out on a Sunday. Plan the shifts in that you've got, plan any social events. If you're training 3 to 4 times over the week, plan them in as well. If we think we might get held on certain shifts, plan your steps in for rest days. Like, we can literally do 20,000+ steps on a Saturday if we're off on a Saturday, or if you're off midweek on a Wednesday, just go and do a big walk, get loads and loads of steps in, and then you can take the pressure off a wee bit. The rest of the week, you don't need to worry about missing steps on certain days. 10 minutes of walking is about 1,000 steps, so you can even look at doing this before and after training. One thing to do as well, when we're in the gym, you will take rest periods in between training sets. So if you're doing 3 sets of bench press, for example, the first one that came to my head, if you're doing 3 sets of bench press in the gym, you'll have time to walk about in between each set. So you're going to be sitting there recovering, you'll probably sit on your phone messing about anyway. So just try and be constantly aware of it when you're in the gym. Get up, walk about a wee bit, do 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after. Again, you'll get about 2,000 steps in from doing that. Make it enjoyable. So even on your days off and stuff like that, try and kind of plan to go and do things with friends. I will start to touch on social events, how to manage social events. But I think just now, try and change what we're doing with our friends on days off. One of the clients I worked with said that if you removed food and alcohol from social events, none of her friends would want to go out. So try and change how we look at social events. Take away the food, take away the alcohol, and think, right, okay, what can we actually do to spend time with the people that we want to spend time with, but not sort of backtrack and prevent ourselves from making any progress. So what to do if you miss a day? You certainly don't need to put your head in your hands like this wee guy. He's obviously had a pretty difficult day, that wee dude. Obviously held on at work, happens quite a lot, probably once or twice a week. Cancelled rest days, forecourt, again, once or twice a week. Cancelled rest days, for football, etc. at the weekend. Being normal and just having a normal life, you will have stuff to do outside of work that is not walking. You will have kids, you will have family barbecues, whatever it is, you will have things to do on your days off that aren't walking, and that's completely normal and acceptable, so don't beat yourself up about that. Treat steps like calories. Daily total can also be a weekly total, so if you have 10,000 steps to do a day, you don't have to start at 10,000, even if you start at 6 to 8,000. Let's say you've got 8,000 steps to do, 56,000 steps over the course of the week. One day you get 6,000 steps because you've had that really, really shit shift. You've been held on for 3 hours and there's no way that you're going to get your steps in. There's just no way you're going to get your steps in. You look at your Fitbit, your smartwatch. I don't have one. You look at your Fitbit, your smartwatch, you think, right, okay, shit, I've missed my steps by 2,000. Instead of thinking that we've kind of failed in any way, shape or form by missing our steps, you haven't actually missed your steps. It's the same as going over our calories by 200. Just reduce the rest of the calories over the course of the week. And like that, we basically just add those steps on. So you can do 6,000 steps one day, 10,000 steps the next day. If your goal is 8,000, you've basically done the exact same amount of steps that you would have done if you'd done 8 on the one day and 8 on the second day. You've done 16,000 steps. So that's the way to look at the steps. Try and think of it as a weekly total. Now, here are the main tips to get the steps in, because it can be quite difficult. I always find steps very, very easy because I do all these things. When I'm in a weight loss phase, I am just constantly aware of steps because I hate going out walking. I literally hate going out for a walk if the point of the walk is just to go for a walk. Here's a picture of me absolutely loving life up in Loch Lomond. But I enjoy stuff like this. I enjoy going out for walks. I enjoy meeting up with friends and going for dog walks. See, the thought of walking around the block 10 times is the most soul-destroying thing on the face of the planet. So I'm constantly aware of it, just so that I don't have to go and do that towards the end of the day. So be aware of it at all times. Like, genuinely sit at your desk at work, think, right, okay, let's go and do 300 steps. I'll walk to the furthest away bathroom. Park further away from work. Park a block away. If it's pissing down, you're going to get wet anyway, so you might as well park slightly further away. Park further away from shops and gym, etc. It will make such a difference to your steps on, I was going to say on the week, but even daily, it'll make such a difference to your steps. See, when you get home from work and you've pretty much hit your step count for the day and you don't actually have to then go, oh my God, I need to go out and do 30 minutes of walking. You can just chill out, you can recover, you can go to the gym if it's a training day, you can switch off a wee bit from it. So try and be aware of it as much as we can when we're out and about anyway, because you'll just tick so many steps off without even really thinking about it. And once you build it as a habit, you almost don't have to be aware of it because you will naturally just park further away from shops. I still park really far away from places just out of habit, and then I walk further to get to the places. It is quite annoying, but it's one of those things I can't help it. I don't even think about it now. Autopilot, park further away. Make it fun. Steps in the shops, dog walks, hill walks with friends. If you enjoy walking about the shops, go and do that on your days off. You don't have to go and do a hill walk or walk about in the piss and rain at the weekend. You can go to a shopping centre, shopping mall, whatever you want to call it, and literally get your steps in. You can walk about, look in the shops. It's super easy. It's super, super easy. Like, people in America go to the malls and do mall walks when it's really, really hot outside. We don't have that issue. It just rains all the time. So what you could probably do is just look at that and go, right, okay, well, I'm going to go to the shops and I'm just going to walk about for an hour. Walk about for an hour. You get 6,000 steps in. Easy. Really, really good way to do it. Dog walks, again, if you have a dog. If you don't, you can't go on a dog walk, unfortunately, unless you have friends with dogs. Hill walks with friends. So try and make it enjoyable. See if the weather's good. Like, message your pals and just say, look, do you want to go out and do something other than go for brunch? Couldn't think of anything more soul-destroying than going for a brunch. So try and go out and get stuff done. Your friends will probably thank you for it as well. Changing up the routine a bit. Even go and do something like escape rooms, or go and do something that doesn't involve you going into a restaurant and just sitting there eating cakes and drinking shite. Just go and do something else. Anything else that keeps us active. If it's not a priority one call, an urgent call, park slightly further away. If you're going to a neighbour dispute that's been sitting for 12 hours, park slightly further, not like the other end of the street, but instead of parking right outside somebody's house in the driveway, park 50 yards away up the street, park on the other side of the road. All these small things will add up massively. And again, when you're hitting your step target over the course of the week, I can guarantee you, if you watch the video on how to set up your calories and you watch this video and you actually start to implement it, you will see your weight coming down pretty much week on week off the back of it. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put it at the end. It'll come up on the screen somewhere. And yeah, start to focus on your steps. Set your first goal as a manageable goal. So even set yourself, right, okay, I'm going to do 6,000 steps a day. If you have no idea what your average steps are, start it off small. Say 6,000, put it up to 7,000 the next week, put it up to 8,000 the next week. Set yourself a range, 8 to 10,000. 12,000 steps a day is where it gets quite difficult. You do have to think about it all the time. We can also do weighted steps. So If you imagine if you drop 20 pounds of body fat, the energy requirements for you to do 10,000 steps are going to be a lot less when you're 20 pounds lighter. So instead of having to increase your steps, you could put like a backpack on with weight in it, water bottles, obviously full of water to give yourself a bit of extra weight. It just means we can burn slightly more calories when we go on a walk and do the same amount of steps instead of having to put the steps up massively. Hopefully this video has helped. If you did find it useful, subscribe to the channel. There's a wee button down here. Give it a thumbs up. Stay safe out there if you are working, and I will speak to you tomorrow.